This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Rooker, it's a 5 on a deep center. Robert going back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Adolis Garcia swings on the other way. That sends Carroll back. He's at the grows. Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season. Julio with an absolute nuke out to left field.
It's Glaber Day. And like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From humidors to Stuff Plus to walk-off dingers, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. Before the Athletics and another Cactus League game. It's going to be the Guardians today, right, Stephen Vogt?
Correct. This time we're playing at home in Mesa at Hohokam against Voter and the Guardians. Alex Wood on the mound for the green and gold. Excuse me, but I haven't looked to see if the Guardians are throwing out there. I'm not really grinding Guardians games.
What?
Although there was this guy. I mean, there's this guy with the Angels yesterday that I was really impressed with. I think he's going to be a player for them this year.
Who?
I don't think you've heard of him. Where's number 27? Plays center field. Something Trout.
Oh, he hit a granny, right?
Yeah, he had a big home run yesterday in that game. I don't know. I think he might be okay for the Angels if he stays healthy. I mean, that's the big thing with him.
You know, and I wasn't expecting to start the show with Mike Trout, but I will say this. When you have an opportunity in your lifetime to see an all-time great, you've got to relish that. You got to love that. He's an all-time great. There's only a few of them, right? I didn't get to see, pick a name, Hank Aaron,
Mickey Mantle,
Willie Mays. Like, we didn't get to see those guys.
Joe DiMaggio.
Mike Trout is an all-time great. And the fact that I had the numbers all in front of me yesterday. Let me see if I can find them. It's kind of sad he hasn't been able to play now for like 3 years. Trout missed 82 games last year. 82.
So missed more than half the season.
So, like, you know, in other sports, if you have an all-time great in the NBA and he only plays in half the season, not good. Football, same thing. Hockey, same thing.
Yeah, Trout hasn't played in over 100 and he played 140 games in 2018, and that's it. The last time he played over 150 was 2016.
That's not good for the sport. And even though Trout has just, if you go to Baseball Reference, you can see what he's done against every team. Trout has just absolutely hammered the A's. He's an all-time great. That's what all-time greats do. Yeah, it's not good for the sport that Mike Trout has not been healthy. You want to see him get to certain numbers and do certain things to be able to be like, man, I saw that guy do a lot of it. It's incredible. I mean, to get to over 100 WAR, you're in like a category. You're up there with the Ricky Hendersons, Ted Williams. I mean, there's only a select group that got to Willie Mays,
Bonds.
Hank Aaron, Bonds, that got to 100 WAR as position players. He has a shot to be one of those guys. That's a level that very few get to. Did A-Rod had to get there, right?
I think he was, yeah. I mean,
Griffey didn't get to 100, did he?
No. Let me see what Alex Rodriguez was. T-Wolves owner Alex Rodriguez.
That's correct.
117 and a half
yeah,
for A-Rod.
I mean, seriously. They get to 100 WAR. I mean, there are great players that didn't get to 100 WAR.
Trout already has a higher WAR than Griffey.
Yeah. George Brett, Mike Schmidt, they didn't get to Griffey. They didn't get to 100 WAR. I mean, it is, and we got Hembo on today, right?
Yeah, 11:30.
We can talk to Hembo about that. I mean, when you have somebody that's going to be, and
21 guys have 100 or higher WAR. 21.
Yeah, but some of those are pitchers.
Yeah, pitchers and position players, yes.
Go down the list of position players. Since we're going to go down this rabbit hole, go down position players and the names. It just tells you the category you're in.
Actually, from what I'm looking at, most of them are position players on here.
Walter Johnson, I think, got to 100. Didn't he get to 100? The
The
big train.
Unless this might just be looking at position players. Yeah, this is war for position players. So there's 21. Bonds, Ruth, I'm going in order. Mays, Cobb, Henry Aaron, Tris Speaker, Hannes Wagner, the Flying Dutchman, Sam Musial, Rogers Hornsby, Eddie Collins, Ted Williams, A-Rod, Lou Gehrig, Ricky, Mel Ott, the Mickey Mantle, Frank Robinson, Nap Lajoie, Mike Schmidt.
Schmidt got to 100.
106.8.
Michael Jack, I apologize. I didn't think he got there.
Albert Pujols and Joe Morgan. And then the next closest was Carl Yastrzemski at 96.5. Trout's at 85.
We've been playing this game for 100 and whatever years, since 18-something.
Trout's 33rd right now.
And there's only 21 guys. And I didn't realize Joe Morgan was at 100. Joe Morgan was a great Oakland's own. Joe Morgan was a great player. And once again, he's a guy that when I remember Joe Morgan, he was an old man for the Giants, right? Joe Morgan's MVP years, I was just a toddler. So you're talking about the greats of the greats. Trout can be on that list, but he's got to play.
Yeah, it's 11 pitchers, it looks like, that have had it. If you do, there's 32 all time. And so there's 21 position players, so 11.
Yeah, it's got to be like Walter Johnson. Cy Young.
So we'll start from the bottom. Warren Spahn was at 100 exactly.
Warren Spahn got, wow.
Christy Mathewson was 106.5. Greg Maddux was 106.6. Lefty Grove was 106.8. Kid Nichols was 116.3. Grover Alexander was 119.
Grover Alexander it sounds like he was the president.
Yeah, Walter Johnson's actually second most all time at 165.
There was a Grover Cleveland Alexander was president, yeah.
And then Cy Young was 163.6. So Cy Young's second, is third all time.
Put Clemens.
Oh, and Clemens.
Can't be in the Hall of Fame with his 139.2 WAR.
It's incredible.
Dude, look at Clemens' career. 354 wins, a 3.12 ERA. Remember, pitching in bandboxes.
Yeah.
He pitched at Fenway and at and you know it as the Sky Dome. Two of the biggest bandbox. And later in his career, roids or not, pitching in a bandbox in Houston with your Crawford boxes.
He was great those couple years in Houston too. 4,672 strikeouts, second all time to only Randy Johnson.
You want a grown-ass man? I'm going to give you a grown-ass man. 709.
Oh, sorry. He's third. Nolan Ryan has more, obviously.
709 games, 707 starts. Only twice at some point in Roger Clemens' career did he come out of the bullpen. When was that?
The very first year he did it. As a rookie at 21, he started 20 games and appeared in 21. Then he pitched out of the bullpen. Hold on. Just going down real quick. See if my eyes don't deceive me. He pitched out of the bullpen his final year with the Yankees at 44.
He didn't pitch out of the bullpen. He was a starter. You hear me? That's a starter. Roger Clemens, like him or not, was a starter. Every single game but two of his career, 707 starts.
Third all-time.
No
strikeouts.
opener. No. Roger Clemens went down to the bullpen. He warmed up. Everybody knew he was coming in. And the other amazing thing about Roger Clemens that people don't bring up is that he was a college guy.
Yeah, I always forget that too because I think of all the numbers.
So think about those numbers, 707 starts. It's not like he's the phenom kid out of high school who then's going to the big league super early. He pitched at the University of Texas.
Correct.
He's a college guy. To have those kind of numbers, it's pretty amazing. All right, so there you have it. Mike Trout, big day against the A's yesterday. Good for baseball. Want to see him play games. And I wish we could just squash this talk about this hot take world that we live in about him should want to trade. Man, you want to be a franchise. I hope someday we have a franchise guy. Maybe it is Geloff. Maybe it is Jacob Wilson, by the way. That's something I want to start out with today because I woke up today and there's as much as people want to harp on everything that happens in baseball, quickly, Pitching Ninja will be here at 10:30. Vince Cotroneo at 11 a.m. When do we play in Vegas?
Tomorrow. So Vince with us tomorrow, too. We're going to have Fran Reardon tomorrow from Vegas. It's tomorrow night. We're on at 4 for everyone listening. 4 o'clock Pacific tomorrow. It's a night game against the Brewers in Vegas. 6:05 first pitch.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Did you know I booked a tea time after our show tomorrow? Because the weather's supposed to be good?
Oh, I told you earlier this week, 4 o'clock.
We're not off at noon?
Nope. Might be able to squeeze around in.
Guess that one, I think it's like 1:10. I think that 1:10 tea time's not going to work.
Let's play the front nine.
Oops. Gonna have to check that. Okay. And then Paul Hembekides, you know him as Himbo from ESPN's morning show Get Up, and also an author. Actually, I have the book right here, best-selling book. Him and Mike Greenberg from ESPN.
I think they put out another one, to be honest.
Well, they haven't sent it, so we can't promote it. Paul Hembekides, when you watch Sunday Night Football, no, actually, when you watch Monday Night Football, Sunday night's NBC. When you watch Sunday Night Baseball and you watch Monday Night Football and all those fancy stats that they're coming out. So you watch Himbo in the morning Get Up as a TV personality, but he's also their main stats guy and their main info guy, their data guy. What do you want to call him? And he's not analytics.
No, he
can do analytics, but he's just data.
I think he also co-hosts on Greeny's radio show too. So that's
not the point. Sunday Night Baseball and Monday Night Football, they're getting their.
I would say researcher.
They're getting their stat packet. It's all coming from Himbo, and you see him on television. And then if you want to throw in some podcasts that nobody cares about on ESPN, go ahead.
Show Greeny. He cares about it. It's a big deal for him.
The spring breakout game, is it a series or a game?
So there's different games. So it's held from, I believe it's the 14th of March through the 17th, where there'll be 16 games. 12 of them will be played as a traditional doubleheader with the Major League Spring Training games that day. But the Spring Breakout is a new Major League Baseball initiative aimed at showcasing the game's young talent during the spring training period. 16 contests will be held across Arizona and Florida. The Reds and Cardinals will play a pair each because of the uneven numbers of clubs in each state as a part of this series. So, yeah, March 14th through the 17th, Grapefruit and Cactus League games. You can watch them on MLB.com, MLB Network, or your regional sports network, your RSN.
Okay, so we're playing the Giants.
Correct. That'll be on NBC Sports on the next Friday, March 15th.
And it's one game.
That's the first one, yes.
And our kids are playing one game.
I don't know when. Right now, I have the schedule up against the Giants. We're playing Friday at 1:05 at Hohokam against the Giants. That's next Friday, March 15th. And then I can see when
it's my birthday, by the way.
I haven't gotten you anything yet, so don't ask. So the way the rosters work, each team is comprised of an organization's top 20 to 25 prospects from all levels of minor league baseball.
Love it. You know what Max Muncy 2.0 said? That's sick.
He's a young kid, yeah. I mean,
it is sick.
Probably heard that from TikTok.
I agree. I agree with Max Muncy 2.0. It is sick. And the kid that got highlighted was Jacob Wilson. Yeah. When I woke up this morning, the big highlight, Jacob Wilson.
I can go over I have the roster right here. The position players.
We don't have to go over
Well, the big guys, Wilson, Hernandez, Max Muncy, Brett Harris.
Hernandez, he's battling for third base right now. Could play shortstop.
He's on the roster, though. And then if you're looking at our big pitchers, no one is pitching right now in spring training, really. I mean, Gunnar Hoagland's on there.
One of the greatest names of all time, Blake Beers.
It is a
We
good
could
name.
make a lot of money with that. We could make a lot of money with that. Jacob Wilson has showed himself well, the number one pick out of Grand Canyon. Of course, we had him on here on Ace Cast Live while we were down in Mesa, Arizona. He's a fun kid. If you go back and watch the interview on YouTube, Is it on? Have we've got to put out a bunch of.
They're all on YouTube.
Yeah, I know, but what about for A's Cast?
Yeah, they're all on YouTube.
But can people go to A's Cast and hear it?
Oh, yeah, I did a best of spring training show. It's like 3 hours long with every interview we did from spring training.
So you can hear that there too on A's Cast. I mean, he's a bright young kid. Dad was a big league shortstop for many, 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 many years. Started Grand Canyon, played a lot of games at Hohokam at college. I mean, the future at shortstop for the Athletics is Max Muncy. You got these kids coming. And that's one thing we said to Jacob Wilson, and he kind of laughed. It was like, hey, are you sizing everybody up here? I mean, everybody's talking about Nick Allen and Darryl Hernandez. You sizing everybody up? Because remember, when you're a college kid and you get drafted in the first round, your job is not to hang out in the minor leagues. The expectations that you have, the expectations that the organizations have, this isn't the high school kid where you send him and he's got to get his feet wet and let's just see how he hits at every level, move him up. No, you're a college kid. You need to show up, ball out, and get to the big leagues as fast as possible. You should not be hanging out in the minor leagues very long. Logan Davidson, that's not how it works. You should spend, I mean, so Jacob Wilson had a little taste last year. He's going to have this year. He should be next year. And I know this is like, people, whoa, slow. No, I'm not slowing anything down. He should be ready to go next year, if not the year after.
I mean, no, we saw it yesterday. The Angels first baseman played like a handful of games essentially in the minor leagues after being drafted out of Florida Atlantic and played in the majors last year.
So the shortstop, how long did Neto?
Yeah, Neto wasn't in the minors very long either.
Why? Like, it's like
and these guys are playing they're not playing at TCU, LSU, Texas. They're playing at Campbell and Florida Atlantic and Jacob Wilson at Grand Canyon. Like they're getting a lot of at-bats at these universities.
College guys that are top picks should not spend very long in the minor leagues.
Well,
there's no point.
Unless you don't check the boxes like Paul Skeens, apparently.
It's just this, and there's no point. Then either you're not good. I mean, it's one of two things. You're either not good enough or the franchise is doing a money thing. That's it. You're a top pick. You've played in college. Because that's the thing. When you play in high school and you're a top pick, you're playing against a bunch of guys who stink. No offense to you high school baseball players. Glad everybody gets the experience, but 99% of all high school baseball players, once they're seniors, it's over. Your senior year's done. Your career's over.
Oh, man. You're telling me you're telling me I had no shot coming out of high school?
No offense. But, yeah, everybody stinks. But the guys that are good move on. But when you're in college, you're playing against really, really, really good players. A lot of guys are going to get drafted. Most guys don't make it, right? But a lot of guys, you're playing against guys that are going to be drafted. You're playing against very skilled people. You've now played against the upper competition. Well, if you've completely dominated college baseball, and now you go to the minor leagues, it's time to, because remember what's in the minor leagues. We act like everybody. I remember when I was doing play-by-play in the minor leagues, when I just got done playing at San Jose State. But I was very fortunate. I played in the Big West. So I played with the Fullertons and Long Beach and Fresno and Vegas and all that. I mean, I played. So essentially the Golden Spikes Award is the Heisman Trophy of. I played against 3 essentially Heisman Trophy winners: Bobby Jones at Fresno, Phil Nevin at Florida at Fullerton State, and Mark Kotze I played against at Fullerton State. These guys were the best players. Phil Nevin Bobby Jones pitched for the Mets for years. Phil Nevin had a long career, recent manager of the Angels, and we all know Mark Kotze played for 17 years. These guys don't hang around in the minor leagues. So Jacob Wilson could be next year. Hell, if he tears it up, I mean, we'll see what's going to happen with Nick Allen and what's going to happen with Hernandez. But Jacob Wilson, by his timeline, should not be sitting there in AAA for a very long time. I don't know where he's going to start, but wherever he goes, he shouldn't be there. I mean, he's basically outside the door. He's in the car, party's inside. He's outside in the car. He's looking at his watch, and he's wondering when should I go into the party? He's not 4 blocks away waiting. He's right outside the party. I'm ready to knock on the door and go in. And when I watched him in the 2 games I watched him in spring, he didn't look like a fish out of water.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him just on and off the field.
Defensively, he looked like, man, heck, kick and play. And then with the one game I did with Johnny, had the base hit to right against the Dodgers at Camelback Ranch. He looked ready to go.
I think that, yes, he is our number 1 prospect right now. He's in the top 100, which is good for him. I think he will be ready by next year. I mean, I would love to see him play this year, but I think with Hernandez and then Max Muncy, I mean, Muncy's pushing hard to get up here by the end of the year, too. He had a great year last year.
Now, he's a high school guy, so it takes a little time to go through the levels, right?
Teammates with Jacob Wilson in high school.
How old's Muncy now?
Muncy, I think, I don't even know if he's 21 yet. Let's take a look. Every time you type in Max Muncy, they bring up
Max Muncy 1.0. You got to go to 2.0.
He just turned 21 in August. He'll be 22 in August.
Wow. How long are you supposed to hang out in the minor leagues?
In the minor leagues so far, he has 980 at bats. By the end of this year, he'll be close to that 1,500 at bat threshold if he plays all year in the minors.
It's funny when you hold people to that standard that they set years ago. You need 500 innings and you need 1,500 at-bats. Okay. Well, he's going to have over 1,000. Max Muncy 2.0 is going to have over 1,000 at-bats after this year. 1,000. That's why Jordan Diaz, whenever you hear somebody say Jordan Diaz is a young player, no, he's not. Jordan Diaz has logged an extreme amount of at-bats. Give me how many at-bats is he from Venezuela?
Colombia.
So he's got international bats. Give me at-bats for Jordan Diaz in the States, minor league baseball and big league baseball, because he now has a bunch of big league at-bats.
In the majors, he has 321. In the minors, is 1,580. So you're looking at around 1,900 at bats.
1,500. You need 1,500 at bats.
1901 to be exact is the number.
He's got 1901, counting the big leagues and minor leagues, not international, where they got the international kids where they're going to bring them over, visas and all that, and they're super young. In the United States, Jordan Diaz has almost 2,000 at bats. This year, if he's on the big club or wherever he goes, he'll now be at over 2,000 at bats. And people are still trying to sell me because of his birth certificate that he's a young player. Oh, you love the bat. Well, he's got to hit, because you have to decide how long you're going to go with this. He's been around now since he was 16. I mean,
correct. Yes. 2017, he was 16.
And what is he now? 23?
He is 23 or 22. Maybe he just turned 23. He is now 23. He'll be 24 in August.
Now he's going to be 24 in August. You don't have a defensive position by the time you're 24. It's a young man's game. I mean, baseball executives show us this because they don't want to pay guys that are in their 30s. It's a young man's game. You don't have a defensive position by the time you're 24. You better hit like a madman. I mean, you know what it is? I'll give you one. It's Edgar Martinez.
Yeah.
Edgar Martinez.
But he could hit.
Was the butcher at third. But he could hit. Give me Edgar. When did Edgar start really hitting? How old was he?
That's what I was going to pull up. Hall of Famer Edgar Martinez.
Greatness. Absolute greatness, Edgar Martinez.
68.4 WAR. Deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. He didn't actually start hitting, if you want to look at batting average wise, until he was 27 years old when he hit 302.
Dude, he hit 372 his first time in the big leagues in 13 games.
43 at bats.
Yeah, he hit 372. He came up and hit 372.
And then he hit 281, 240. Then it's like first full year, 140 games, 302. So 27.
If I'm right, I was looking at the box score yesterday. Jordan Diaz is hitting like a $167.
No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. Yes, it's.
That's not the camp you need to.
No.
Jordan Diaz needed to come in and just rake. And then Eric Martins has been working with him. They've worked hard. I give Jordan Diaz credit. He has worked hard on his defense. They say he's getting better. He's just not naturally gifted infielder. Doesn't make him a bad guy. Not everybody, to be a big league infielder, you got to have great feet. You got to have great balance. You got to be able to go left to right.
It's actually lower. It's 118.
See, that's where you didn't go to journalism school. Don't let facts get in the way of a good story. You just dropped him to
118.
I had him at 167, and I was doing him a favor.
It only dropped 50 points since you said it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He is in spring training. He is 2 for 17.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
How many options does he have left? Is the question.
We're running out of games, man. I mean, it's March 7th. You're gonna blink after this show. I mean, think about it. You're gonna watch this show today, and you're gonna turn around. And you're going to have your weekend. I got him on. I can't get off this Jacob Wilson thing. Where's my schedule? This damn app. All right. So you want to know how fast this thing is going? I'm going back to Arizona. That's how fast this thing is going. So we're at what? The 7th?
Yes.
So you're going to have, after this weekend, you basically got 2 weeks.
Yeah. He has one option left, by the way.
With 3 days off. 2 weeks with 3 days off. There's a day off on the 21st. 2 more games in Arizona. Day off on the 24th. Come back. 2 games in the Bay Bridge series against the Giants. Day off and then opening day. There's not a lot of time left. Because you're not getting every at-bat of every game. That's where spring training is different for all people. If you're somebody if there was ever somebody to look at to prove that point, it would be Brent Rooker this year versus last year. Last year, every at-bat mattered for Brent Rooker. Every single at-bat. Every single time he stepped to the plate, he was fighting for his baseball life. I think I made a pretty good point with David Forst. If he didn't, in the end, make the decision, Rooker over Pache. If he didn't make that decision, where is Brent Rooker now? There's no All-Star game. There's no 30 home runs. Where would Brent Rooker be right now if David Forst didn't select? Because in the end, it's David's call. You can have all the people. I'm sure there's people who wanted Pache. I'm sure there's people who wanted Rooker. In the end, it's David's call. David Forst made the call. It was a tough one because Pache was part of the Olsen trade. He was out of options. You knew you were going to lose him. Philly immediately grabs him. Where would Brent Rooker be right now if Forst didn't make that decision and he went with Pache?
Probably trying to fight and make a club somewhere else. If not, I don't know. I wouldn't say he might be out of baseball yet, but he might be getting close. Yeah.
And if this spring didn't go well at his age, could be done with baseball. That one decision. Think about how that changes lives. That decision as a front office member, the power, the absolute power that you have. You made a decision and saved a guy's career. Because if you don't select him, there's a chance he's back battling again this year it's in somebody's camp for a job. And if he doesn't get that job, he could be retired. But now The decision was made for him. He hits 30 home runs. He's an all-star. And now this camp is completely different. For pitchers, certain pitchers are going out there in camp and they're just working on stuff. Other pitchers, they got to get outs. You're not working on anything. You need to get outs. You need to try to make the club. Spring training is different for everybody. And you see it in all sports. It's the same thing in the NFL. When you're watching preseason games, starting quarterback goes out there, plays, the third, what used to be the third game would play a half, Other guys are battling to make the team. That's why spring can be so tough. And it's great for Brent Rooker. Now, Brent Rooker, as he said with us down there when we were down in Arizona, that he's taking his at-bats and he's getting ready. It's a completely different deal. But Jordan Diaz, I had him at 167. You said what?
118?
118?
118.
I mean, how are you going to feel if you're Jordan Diaz and you're sent back to AAA?
That's the last time you can send him. He has one option left.
I mean, how are you going to feel about that?
You better crush the ball down there with Fran and the Aviators.
You know who never spent any time in AAA?
There's a lot of guys, but probably our next guest.
Pitching Ninja never spent time in AAA.
No.
Straight to the big league.
Straight to the big leagues.
You can't. Have you even been to a minor league ballpark? You're so big league now. Have you ever stepped foot into a minor league park before in your life, or do you go, I can't go to one of those places?
Oh, it's so far beneath me, right? Like it's no, I love watching baseball at every level. I mean, you'll find me like at college games or whatever. Absolutely.
All right, so you're now, since we evolved our relationship with you, your involvement with Major League Baseball has grown. And every single time I look up, there's something new. There's new things, new connections, new things that you're doing with pitchers. Just talk about, where are you right now with Major League Baseball teams, with Major League Baseball players, because your growth has been absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, dude, I don't even understand it. Like, actually, MLB just unveiled a new stat based on my stuff, the sword stat. So now they're going to be tracking swords during the year. I got to hang out with the Mariners pitchers, which was awesome. They invited me to hang out, and I thought that was great. Shoot, in Arizona, I had pizza over Joe Kelly's house. Like, how random is that? That was.
He didn't flip you off or anything, did he?
He's hilarious, dude. He has definite two sides to him. Like, absolutely a phenomenal teammate, and maybe a little bit of an axe murderer in there.
Oh, he's got a little bit of nut job in him, but I like that, right? I like that as a reliever. I want a guy like him coming in. He's wearing glasses, but you're like, this guy's a little off. I mean, I've always liked him. When you go like with the Mariners, what is it? What is your spec? Because we see Pitching Ninja put you on X, Twitter, X,
whatever, yeah.
And we see all the stuff, and we love the tunneling, and we see what is it? What's the specialty that you have that, let's say, the Mariners are really interested in?
I don't have any idea. So many of them were fans of what I do. Like, they just came up to me and wanted to talk, which was awesome. But it's about giving back a little bit too. They have a very young, exciting staff that wanted to share their grips, wanted to share what's going on, and just wanted to talk baseball. Like, it was really pretty cool.
Yes, I know what you mean. A lot of our young players, we've now noticed that they've been watching this show. So our minor leaguers, because obviously they want to get here. So it's really been, we've known now for probably about a year. Like, we found out the AA guys, A-ball guys have been watching because they want to get here. And if you get here, this is the show you're going to be on. So it's been, because they all live and die on this thing. So they're all paying attention to social media. So all the minor leaguers are paying attention. So whoever you play for, right? Whatever organization, you're paying attention to what that big club's doing, everything that's happening. So I find it fascinating how these young kids are really, they thirst for knowledge. They thirst for whatever is happening at the big league level.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. And I think sometimes everybody starts saying, oh, the kids nowadays, short attention spans, whatever. I find it really refreshing that they want to learn stuff themselves. They want to find all the information they can out for themselves. They're all watching these interviews, trying to pick up little things. Even if the average fan doesn't, the average player does, or at least the average young player, as well as like making and wanting to be like part of social media and sharing their stuff. I think that's a good thing. I think it gets more fans involved, and it's not artificial. It's not this whole fake stuff about, just doing stuff for clicks. They really want to do this.
Well, and I think about what you're doing. It kind of reminds me of golf, where I can go anywhere and get 8,000 golf tips, right? Everybody's going to tell you how to do a grip, how to not suck it inside, how to be balanced, how to turn around. There's probably golf has the most tips of any sport there is. YouTube is literally so watching what you're doing when we're talking to players, if you're talking about how gripping a golf club, they're doing the same thing, telling you how they're gripping the baseball, right? Every individual is different. Every human being is different. We all have different throw patterns. We have different grips. We have different thoughts. I think it's fascinating for me with catchers is the fact as a catcher, you've got to know what makes each guy tick when the bullets are flying. I don't care what a guy does in a bullpen. That's great. He throws 100 miles an hour in the bullpen. But when a guy comes in and there's 2 runners on and there's a packed crowd and this is game on the line, what is he good at? What is he not good at, right? The catcher's got to know that. There's so many different things that we can get into with pitching and that you've been doing it.
Yeah, I totally agree again. Like catching is part psychiatry. I mean, pitchers are a little bit crazy, obviously. And you have to have a guy who knows how to push the right button. Some guys need to be chilled out. Some guys need to be pushed. Actually talking to Cal Raleigh with the Mariners, he just came over. It's like, hey, can I make your account? Catchers need love too. And he's great. Like I love sharing all that stuff. Like there's not enough love for everybody.
That, and it's just got me thinking. Like, let's say, like everybody, we're now talking sweeper. Everybody's talking sweeper. When we look at people's pitches and how you're able to go through and whatever technology you're using to look at, I'd be so interested how guys' stuff works when the pressure's on versus not.
Good. Yeah. Good question. I don't know if there's any, you could probably figure that out, but it would take a little bit. But yeah, I agree with you. Some guys muscle up. Some guys just focus better when there's pressure on them. I think there was a stat, I think Codified Baseball ran something about Spencer Strider against weaker teams was way worse than against the best teams in the division.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's just laser focus versus maybe I can give up a few today because these guys aren't hurting me, and they end up hurting you.
That is interesting. Yeah, because he straps it on when he knows he's got to strap it on.
Yeah.
And all of that has nothing to do with we essentially obsess over the neck down. That's what we obsess about. And the reality is all these guys are so talented, it's all from the neck up. And saying right there, Spencer Strider knows when I got the Phillies today, when I've got the Mets today, when I got the Dodgers today, I'm putting my big boy pads on. But when he's got like the Pittsburgh Pirates, he doesn't bring that same mentality. You can really measure that if you really look at, and obviously someone's been able to do that.
Yeah. It's just, we've always been accustomed to saying there's no such thing as being, clutch. But I'll tell you, that from playing golf too, right? Like there are guys that are just going to miss that 3-foot putt, or the guys are going to nail it. And, those are guys you don't want to play against. You can't get in their head. So absolutely it matters. And I think the mental game is really overlooked by fans because I think yelling at a player helps them, where yelling at a player most of the time kind of sucks for them. Like, you don't want to be doing a show and someone be sitting over your shoulder going, Chris, you're having a terrible day today, man. Get with it. Get your head out of your butt. Come on, man.
That's Cody. I got to get that.
Well, he does do that. Yeah, that's true. I've seen him.
Well, and think about closers. As much as we're always talking about different things, we did, was it Joey Estes? We were talking about horizontal and vertical with his sweeper and everything. Like closers come in and you got to have a strikeout pitch. And you got to have it every single time. Mariano Rivera has got to have that cutter, which wasn't necessarily a strikeout pitch. He just broke everybody's bats. Trevor Hoffman had the change. Bruce Sutter had the split finger. You've got to have something that people can't hit. You've got to contact in the ninth inning is bad. You want strikeouts. You want a huff and puff. Just think about that. You're going to come in, I don't know, 60 times or so, and every single time you've got to have that one pitch. So there's somebody you can really measure when you say, when the pressure's on, he's got that lights out, knock him out pitch.
Yeah, there clearly some guys who can't do it. I mean, you watch their faces when they come in, you can tell they don't have it. And I don't know if it's the pressure, the fans, or just randomness of baseball, but you do see that in guys' faces. And I think that's important to pay attention to. Like, teams do. Teammates know who's going to come through in the clutch and who's got it or not. You watch them all the time. I think fans sometimes, some do, some don't. Some are just assuming everybody's a robot and can put up the stats wherever you put them. Some guys play better in different cities. There's a whole bunch of different things.
No doubt. You have a better night's sleep. I mean, we don't ever account for issues going on at home, wife, kids, whatever. The Maddox conversation that you had was fabulous. And there was one thing that you guys talked about, and I wonder if that's how much this can even happen anymore. The scuffed baseball and the Moises Alou. And you're showing just the incredible Maddox got this ball and was like, oh my God, I remember I used to do that. But now baseballs get thrown out so much, so fast. They're all so hard. They're all like cue balls. We've had Steve Sparks on a lot, the knuckleballer, who now is a broadcaster for the Astros, and he says he picks up the balls now, and it'd be like almost impossible to throw a knuckleball because they're so hard you can't dig your knuckles in. But that was so awesome. That's pitching. Maddox got a ball with a huge scuff, and he's utilizing it, and you guys showed, and the movement was absolutely crazy, and then the next batter, it gets fouled out of play. Well, but that was awesome, that your conversation with Maddox. So go through that. What was it like? You got one of the greatest masters of all time, Greg Maddux, all-time great. That conversation, learning from him, talking with him. What was it like?
It was a little surreal in that, like, I got an email out of the blue from his son saying, "Hey, would you want to talk to my dad?" And I was like, yes, like right now. Do you want me to fly somewhere? Is there any place I need to, like, absolutely, I will. And he's a guy that I can interview kind of just rolling out of bed, just because I followed his whole career very closely and I knew kind of everything. I just poked him on. I think if you don't ask Maddox very pointed questions and know what you're talking about, he'll just give you stock answers. But when you start specifically asking, like I brought up that Alou pitch, and he said, "Oh yeah, that one." That was absolutely nasty. And for Maddox to say one of his pitches was absolutely nasty when he's usually the master of understatement, you know how filthy that was. But yeah, it was really a lot of fun. It's obviously a brilliant pitcher, but kind of chill too. So, I definitely enjoyed that.
It's amazing the way he utilized the entire strike zone in and out of it, and pitched in different planes, and the ball was always moving, where he could pitch it at, like so many guys now we got are the huff and puff and blow your house down, and they just want to throw it by everybody, to where, and people kind of forget that early Greg Maddux threw, back in the day, if you could throw 93, 94, no one was throwing 100. There was very few. So when Maddux was with the Cubs, originally, he threw, it wasn't like he was the big gas guy, but he threw pretty hard. But it's as he got aged and he was with the Braves, it was just amazing how any pitch, any time, any count. As a hitter, you go to the plate, he's watching you in the box. You could think that you're going to scoot up in the box to get rid of the movement. You could maybe back away a little bit as a lefty because you're that changeup, or he'd throw that one at your hip and bring it back. He would watch how you're moving. The game within the game was so amazing if you go back and truly watch a Greg Maddux pitch game, especially those ones where, a Maddux, where it's a complete game in under 100 pitches.
Oh, totally. He's one of those guys that treated the sport like a game. So what he did was, he just tried to outsmart and defeat the hitter, knowing that if he got them early in the count, he'd be able to go deeper into games, maybe go for weak contact. He knew how to get strikeouts. He knew how to disguise his pitches. One of the first guys that really got and really understood tunneling. And he's also, like, he's continuing to learn. He was with the Rangers last year, and he and I talked about Jacob deGrom and what he thought about him. And he's like, that guy can throw it exactly where he wants to, and he throws 100. So he's, almost unfair up there. And it was very complimentary of today's crowd of pitching. But his one thing, and you brought that up a little bit, the one thing he said that today's pitchers could do better is they could kind of call their own pitch. Like in younger games, basically coaches are calling pitches. Like it's, even college coaches are calling pitches. And he thought that hurt development because what he wanted was conviction on each pitch. Like, this is the right pitch to throw. And if you know that it's the right pitch to throw, you're more apt to throw it with conviction and throw it hard, throw it, exactly everything right. And it's a big part of pitching. And he thought that if people are calling pitches for you, you have less conviction. So if he had his, if he had his way, younger pitchers would understand how to select what pitch to throw and call their own game. And I thought that was a good point.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago that Maddox was hanging out on the bench at UNLV at his alma mater. So it's not like it's the old guy hasn't been around the game and just shows up to spring training. He was around college baseball, so he was seeing it. And you're right. In life, whether it's baseball, whatever sport or whatever, when you have conviction and you have belief, you have a better chance of being successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go into this show going, I know I'm the best out there. There's nobody that's going to do better. And look at this.
Exactly what I said. I said no one's better than I am.
See, now I'm agreeing with you. This is perfect.
What's the one thing you learned from him?
The biggest thing that jumped out to me from him was the way he threw a cutter, which I hadn't heard anybody describe it that way. Like, I've always taught, throw it a little off center grip. There are other ways to do it. Darvish had some nice cues too about, your hand automatically cuts. If you put these two fingers down further, you can see how that's making my hand kind of cut. Maddox said what he did was he threw basically a slider, but threw it off his ring finger instead of his middle finger. So it was basically a harder slider. If you think about it, you're going to, you're trying to come through with it like this.
He's going, I'm not flipping you off. The ring finger.
Well, he's going not middle finger, but he's going pointer finger.
Okay, it's pointer
finger. Sorry about that. Yeah.
All right, because you got to remember, to all the people out there, a cutter is not a slider. A traditional slider is going to break. A cutter is something that is still going to have a lot of velocity, but only moves a little bit. It only moves a little bit. That's
yeah. Yep. And I hadn't thought about it like that, because by using your pointer finger more, you're not actually kind of breaking it off as much.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just a little cue. I hadn't heard anybody talk about it. And I said, that's real. Like, occasionally you just have somebody, you've been in pitching for so long, and then you have a guy just throw that out at you. I'm like, yeah, that's a good way to teach a cutter, dude. No wonder why you were so good.
Yeah, and the thing about the cutter is it's still the fastball action. So they would always teach it like you're pulling down the lampshade.
Yep.
Pulling down the lamp. That's the slider. So the cutter is really just a little change in grip, and you're throwing your fastball. It's the little things like that you hope also help keep pitchers healthy. Because, I mean, there is a correlation. I have smaller hands, so I could never throw the split. But every single time that I dig my hands in, I feel it in my elbow. You feel you're stretching out your fingers. It's going into the forearm. I mean, there's certain pitches. Every guy's different, whether you're going to stay healthy or not. And that's kind of something I want to get into with you. But, a cutter, essentially, it's a fastball with a little bit change of a grip. If a kid learns that's something that gives you a better chance of staying healthy longer.
Yeah. And I just like it too, because anything, you don't want to depend on things that move at a really young age, because hitters stink at that age, right? Like, if you're throwing curveballs at 7-year-olds, you're not really learning how to pitch. You're learning how to get out 7-year-olds, and you could do that all day. And you'd rather learn good mechanics that can produce some velocity as well as some consistency, versus trying to get by on gimmicks at a young age. Although cutter, I don't know how much a cutter is really a gimmick. Like, I may be talking myself out of that, because you're still throwing it hard. You're throwing it like a fastball.
It's just a little bit of change in grip. You're still throwing the same release point. It's the same everything.
Yep, totally.
All right. Getting ready for the show. Everybody continues to do the freak out about the pitch clock. And there were a slight less trips to the IL for pitchers last year than the year before when there was no pitch clock. So that kind of data is not, they're not presenting that data to you. And then I essentially went and was researching last night, pitchers getting hurt. And there's all these articles about pitchers getting hurt, but they're all before when the pitch clock was even going on. So our injuries with pitchers have been going up year after year after year, well before the pitch clock.
Oh, it totally has. And a lot of it has to do with, if you're throwing hard and redlining yourself, obviously things are more likely to break than not. Like if you run really fast, you're probably more likely to get hurt, tear something running than, me running than jogging. I want to say like if I'm running really fast, I'm going to tear my legs off.
Oh, your hamstring's in trouble.
Yeah, just can't do it at all. But yeah, absolutely. I do, I was one of the guys that would worry about it. You pitch clock, you have less time to recover between pitches, blah, blah. But proof is in the pudding. I mean, you got to look at the stats and see if people are really more likely to get injured or not. It would make sense that they would be because you tire earlier, but maybe pitchers make adjustments and they don't throw, who knows? I don't know.
Well, it's an epidemic.
It is.
And then, but also when you get look at all the pitchers that are hurt. Sonny Gray's got a hamstring. Our guy Luis Medina's got a knee. They're not all arm injuries too.
Oh yeah, it's early in the year too. I mean, you're not really ramped up. Some guys think they are, and they think they're ready, and they tweak something, and then there's the randomness of injuries. Like you're playing a sport, you're gonna get hurt sometimes. You can get hurt almost doing anything, but certainly when you're ramping up trying to compete, and you realize maybe I should have worked on my legs a little bit more.
Well, I just wonder, like, if Maddox talking about DeGrom, and obviously Maddox's brother Mike being the pitching coach for the Rangers, I just wonder what Maddox, if you're like, hey, DeGrom can't, yeah, it's great what DeGrom, this has always been my thing. It's great what he can do. Problem is he can't do it a lot.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to sustain it. So would there be a way for him to sustain it? I mean, obviously he would still be out there. He could throw more innings. I mean, DeGrom has always been a max guy. If he wasn't because Maddox wasn't a max guy. Maddox wasn't trying to throw every single pitch as hard as he can. And he lasted a long, 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 long time.
The interesting thing is if you ask Maddox how hard he threw, like I asked him how hard he threw coming up, and then I asked, like, he would say he was trying to fire it. Like it just didn't come out as fast. I don't know if I believe that. I think that in his mind, he was trying to fire it with location, but he would say he was throwing. I was gunning it, man. Yeah, I mean, and you look at DeGrom, he looks like he's very smooth and perceived effort doesn't look very high. Who knows? Like, then if he backs off and he gets hit around or he backs off and he still gets injured, is that something like, I don't know. I mean, bottom line is DeGrom's probably the best pitcher pitch for pitch almost ever in baseball. It's just not as many of those pitches as some of those other guys.
He'd be like the Gale Sayers.
Yes, good call.
Gale Sayers of the Chicago Bears. The Kansas City Comet was just you look at those old NFL films highlights, and Gale Sayers playing at Wrigley Field was so incredible, but he got hurt and guys get hurt. So it's like greatness, but you never get to really see the greatness because DeGrom will never have a full career. I mean, I don't know. Second Tommy John, we'll see what happens. I mean, that's, the best ability is availability.
Yeah, definitely. And you're finding more and more of that. Like, I mean, obviously teams know that. They want guys to post all the time. That's a big deal. Guys that have played with everybody that's played with DeGrom is just in awe of what he could do. Kind of like a Gale Sayers, exactly, or Bo Jackson or somebody like that just had those careers that were so meteoric that you can't get them out of your head, but you realize how short they were at their peak. Hopefully DeGrom comes back and he's got another, 5-6 years of dominance in him. We'll see. I want to see it because I think he's a good dude and certainly a great pitcher. But I just don't know. I mean, you just don't know. Take
us through Swords and where we can find it.
I believe it is on Baseball Savant, and they're categorizing it. Just a sword is basically a check swing. So a check swing strike where the umpire rings you up. They're using basically their bat tracking technology to figure out how fast the bat normally goes through the zone for that hitter, and then kind of a lower percentage swing that they took. So the usefulness of it is, how many times that hitter was fooled, right? Like you know how many times a pitcher might be getting swords, might be some relevance to how nasty they are, how well they're tunneling, some other aspect of it, because you're fooling a hitter to some extent to think it was a fastball and it wasn't a fastball, or vice versa. The guy that led in swords last year was Dylan Cease, who's a very good pitcher. I think Spencer Strider's slider may have had the most of any individual pitch, good pitch. But, does that track to universally? Are those going to be the best pitchers? I don't know. It's going to be fun to look at.
So a sword is a full swing does not count.
No, it's not a swing and miss.
This is, and I'm fooled and I kind of pull it back. I mean, we got a lot of guys. I mean, in baseball today, with the time that the human brain has to figure out, because it's 60 feet, 6 inches. No, it's not. By the time this pitcher's come down the mound, and a lot of these guys are big dudes with long arms, by the time they release the ball, you've got 0.0000 to figure out milliseconds, right? What's the pitch? Your brain's got to tell your body to fire. I mean, a lot of these guys are guessing, and I don't blame them. I mean, you got to guess if a guy's throwing 101 miles an hour. Your eyes only have so much time, and your brain only has so much time to figure out, do I swing or not? So there's a lot of guessing. So it's basically, I decided to swing, held back because I'm fooled. That's a sword.
Yes, exactly. It's some kind of silly looking swing almost. And you're actually nailed it also, but with guessing. It's one of the things why velocity is so important, why you're seeing guys throw many secondary pitches, because if you're throwing really hard, hitter's got to make a decision early, regardless of whether he's seeing a fastball or not. So if you're throwing off-speed pitches, you're more apt to miss their bat because they're cheating on they have to cheat. And you talk to most pitchers and most hitters. I actually talked to Brent Rooker and I said, do you pick up spin? And he's like, no, I don't think most people. I can see spin if I'm standing behind a catcher and just focused on spin, or if I'm taking a pitch, I might be able to see it. But if you're trying to swing at it, you don't have enough time to pick up the spin on it.
Do you ever scratch your head when you see some of these guys who have the stuff they have, and then you look at their numbers and you go, how does this guy have a 4.5 ERA? How does he have a 5 ERA? He's throwing 101 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely happens occasionally, and you'll see a lot of time it has to do with just pure command. Like the guy does not command the zone, walks a lot, and puts himself in bad positions. But there are definitely, like, there was a tweet going around last year that I laughed at too, where somebody will say, Pitching Ninja featured this guy, nasty overlay, made this hitter look stupid, and ended up giving up, the guy gave up 6 runs in 3 innings and, whatever. I'm like, yeah, that happens because I'm focused on individual pitches and tunneling, not, sometimes the overall result, but I'm looking at highlights of what I can show to really show why the pitcher's so nasty. It doesn't mean they have great results. And some of those guys, absolutely, totally true.
Don't you dare come after the Pitching Ninja. You should be blocked immediately. All right, let's sell some merch, baby. Where can we get? I mean, I look behind you. That looks awesome. The hat's awesome. Everything. I mean, your merch is second to none. You have one of the coolest logos in sports. How? Because you sell everything. You got that Pitching Ninja logo on everything. How can our fans get them some Pitching Ninja merchandise?
This is why you're the best. You're so good at hawking my stuff.
Let's make some money, baby.
Absolutely. So just go to pitchingninja.com and you'll see a whole bunch of hats and shirts. And if you're looking for like this type of shirt, go to RotoWear. He has a search for Pitching Ninja. He carries my stuff too. So absolutely pick some stuff up. Help support the poor old Pitching Ninja. People want cool stuff. They do.
People want cool stuff. By the way, my birthday's March 15th, Cody. I like cool stuff. You go to the website. This is something unique, right? That people, I told you one time I was at a San Jose State football game. I had the Pitching Ninja hat on. The guy turns around and goes, Pitching Ninja. Like, it's like you're in this cool little club, right? Only so many people know about it. I'm telling you, if you send a box to somebody's house and they open it up and it's Pitching Ninja gear, they're going to be excited.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't even matter if you're a baseball fan, right? Like everybody needs some Pitching Ninja in their life.
All right, buddy, keep doing it. Your rise has been a lot of fun. It's been great to see this ride. And yeah, the Maddox thing, Maddox doesn't do that with a lot of people. People need to understand Maddox doesn't sit and hang out for a while and talk with a lot of people. That tells you a lot about how things are going for you. So continue getting it done, and we'll talk to you during the season.
Awesome, man. Great as always.
All right, buddy. See ya. Coming
care.
up next, we'll get you ready. Vince Cotroneo from, where are we to? Hohokam? We go back to the Valley of the Sun next, right here on A's Cast Live.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, join your team this spring in Mesa. With nonstop flights direct from Oakland, there's never been a better time to head to the Southwest. Surrounded by the stunning Sonoran Desert, spring training fans know why Arizona is the perfect spring break escape. Miles of trails, shoreline, and sunshine combined for an unforgettable Arizona adventure. There's simply no shortage of things to do, see, and discover in Mesa. Get your visitor's guide at visitmesa.com.
Nestled in the hills of San Jose, minutes from Silicon Valley, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club offers 27 holes of championship golf, first-class pro shop, practice facility, and great food in the grill. This time of year also means family and business get-togethers. Let the folks at Cinnabar Hills make your event unforgettable while enjoying their award-winning venue. It's all there for you. Championship golf, a great space for any events, and incredible food. See it all at CinnabarHills.com. That's CinnabarHills.com.
This is Chris Townsend. There are two things that are a must for me: comfort and style. Whether I'm playing golf, going to dinner, I've got to have the right feel. That's why I've partnered with Linksole, and you're going to love Linksole. They have just released their new spring line, new fabrics for their polos, lightweight and perfect for technical performance. Linksole also has new styles for their layers and hoodies with cool prints and seasonal colors. You know what they say in the big leagues: look good, play good. Go to linksole.com. That's linksole.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Ever since we got Xfinity, we have Wi-Fi all over the house, even in my hiding spots.
Ha! Found ya.
How?
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Now through March 21st, get started with 200 megabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
A's general manager David Forst was on A's Cast Live during the winter meetings and explained why the team was moving Mason Miller to the bullpen.
Mason's tried starting now over 3 years, minor league, big leagues, keeps coming up with something, and we're going to try the pen. And you know, to Mason's credit, he's open to whatever. He's obviously a little disappointed. I think everybody wants to be a starter when it comes down to it, but I mean, he, you know, obviously, like you said, with his stuff, he could have a really impressive career in the bullpen. But we told him this is not permanent. Like, go out there, let's try and keep you healthy for a year. That's got to be the first step. That way you help yourself, you help the team, and then we can reevaluate.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
If you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see our friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try the world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Streaming from the studio, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
All right, let's get out to the ballpark. Hello, Vince. How are you?
Hey, Chris. Following the Ninja is a very tall task. I always enjoy his content online, his ability to just get the access that he has, and has pitchers so comfortable with talking about grips and their approach in a very relaxed setting is really impressive.
What is your vertical on your sweeper?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
So we got this spring breakout series. I think it's really cool. I know we put it up on the website, oaklandathletics.com, talking about it. Jacob Wilson's highlighted. We got a bunch of kids that are going to play in it. I think it's really exciting. What's it like their boots on the ground? Are people excited about this coming up?
Well, it's still a few days away. It'll be after the A's regularly scheduled game on March 15th against the Giants. So I think that always adds a little more cachet. If you're going to have a spring breakout game, why not do it against, a team that you're right down the street from? You could say a rival if you want. And I think that does add something to it. The guy that I would be most interested in seeing is Steve Echeverria, the New Jersey kid that the A's signed away from college because of the money that they saved when they signed Jacob Wilson, number one out of nearby Grand Canyon University here. It allowed them to be aggressive with that young pitcher. I'd like to see that, Steven throw and what he'll be doing as he begins, his stretch through the A's minor league system.
Yeah, every organization's different, right? Every spring training is different. For us, we need all these kids to get good and to come up, right? So some teams, they're going to use some of these kids as trade bait. Some team, so every organization's different. I just think it's exciting for baseball to highlight a lot of these young guys, and it's one of the things we should applaud Major League Baseball doing because it brings a little juice. I know I'm interested. I know I'm going to watch.
Yeah, I think it's something where you want to continue to create interest in an organization, like to your point about guys that are coming through systems and paying attention to that. Oftentimes we are guilty of spending too much time talking about guys that we may never see in the big leagues, but because they're, 19 years old in A ball, you're already putting them in your lineup and having expectations, which are, grossly unfair for a number of those players. But we're also seeing the trend in Major League Baseball that younger players are coming to the big leagues faster. I mean, the AAA leagues are more, as I call it, a state farm league, an insurance league. There are guys that have big league experience. But if you're really one of the top prospects in an organization, you're going to see them pushed, quickly, maybe a little cup of coffee at AAA and give them that opportunity in the big leagues. And even the A's did that this season with Lawrence Butler, who started, at AA and found himself in the big leagues last year. So if you're one of those guys in an organization, this will be your first opportunity to see how fast can they move through a system. And once you get to AA, you are more so than ever really knocking on the door.
Jacob Wilson, he's kind of the highlight of this article. What are your thoughts on him, what you saw this spring?
I haven't seen a lot, but the things that I have noticed is line drive base hits. He uses the middle of the diamond. He's an angular player. He's going to grow and probably fill out even a little bit more, like 6'3", 180 pounds. So not that he's going to be a home run guy. I think he's going to be a gap-to-gap guy. But they all talk about and rave about his bat-to-ball skills. We know because of the bloodlines and playing that position with his dad that he has an idea of what to do. Spoke with Bobby Crosby about him and Max Muncy, both at that position as shortstop. And certainly Bobby has enough experience in that regard. And the thing he has said about Jacob is still working on improving the footwork and trying to slow things down, not be as jumpy as you would be in certain situations. And over time, that will happen. I think it's fair to say that Nick Allen, even last year under Eric Martins, and he told us last week when he was visiting with us in game about an adjustment he had to make with the ball to his left because of the way he was set up. He was set up closed to the baseball and close to second base. So if a ball went to his left, it took him more time to adjust his body just to start his motion toward the baseball. And that led to some challenges for him to get to the ball, probably reduce the range that he has that we've seen on his backhand side. And with all the conversation about Matt Chapman and what he did for the A's and now signing with the Giants, you remember, he allowed Marcus Semien to play so far up the middle because he covered so much ground to his left. And that's something the A's are working on. They have to determine almost pitch by pitch how to position Nick Allen in regard to who's at third base. Is it going to be Abraham Toro? Is it going to be Daryl Hernandez? We don't know at this point. But in either case, with a pitching staff, for the most part, as starters, not really a strikeout staff outside of Joe Boyle, if he's actually the fifth man of the rotation, ball's going to be put in play. And you have to be positioned properly in order for that to be successful. The A's were last in the league in allowing hard hit contact. Number 29 went to the World Series last year representing the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks. So their defense was positioned, they were athletic, and they could make plays. And that's something the A's have got to continue to grow to allow them to get the most that they can from their pitching staff.
You mentioned Hernandez, and it's interesting. I got to see a couple of games with him playing shortstop. Obviously, he's athletic. You know, you mentioned the Matt Chapman dynamic. Matt Chapman is a former shortstop playing third. When you basically have two shortstops, guys with that basically means you have guys that have athletic ability. They got good rhythm. They've got good feet. They've got good lateral movement. Hernandez, that'd be interesting. If it is Nick Allen at short and Hernandez can make the club and he does play a lot of third base, your left side will be pretty good defensively.
It'll be better for sure. I mean, third base is something they've talked about all spring, about a challenge and how they're going to fill that consistently. I like the inner confidence that Darryl has brought to the table. I love talking with him around the batting cage, just his sense for a kid that's 22, 23 years of age, and was a high school draft out of El Paso by Baltimore, and in an organization, as we know, that was overloaded with position players, particularly infielders. It allowed the A's to kind of pick him off last year, and they love the bat, they love the contact, they love the swing path. Line drives we're seeing quite a bit, maybe profiles to a 15, 18 home run guy in the big leagues if he can get to the big leagues and settle in. I like him more at third base. I think his arm strength is more. I don't think he has the arm to play shortstop on an everyday basis, but you can get away with some of that at third based on where you're playing. So I'm anxious to see how the rest of the spring turns out. We're getting to about 2 weeks left in spring training, Towny, so we're starting to see guys playing longer, pitchers going deeper. Pitchers are not just working on my fastball or they're trying to get you out and, working on, as a hitter, how you make the adjustments at bat and how you handle yourself in the field. So I think the next, 2 weeks, Darryl's going to be part of the group that's going to Las Vegas, which will be fun to see. And it'll be under the eye of Marcotte again. So I think that carries some weight. He's going to be in camp, I think, all the way to the very end.
Yeah, you get through this weekend. There's 2 weeks with 3 days off. It's going to be here fast. By the way, you're hanging out by the cage. Have you replaced Jed Lowry as the cage whisperer?
No. Jed was the best at that, wasn't he? I mean, you heard so many of his teammates just really expand upon the way that Jed could talk to a player, talk to a peer about hitting approach, about having an idea when you're standing in the box. He was special, even going back to the Houston Astro days. I've talked with Jose Altuve about this, how much he loved being around Jed Lowry, what that meant to him, expanding his ideas and his ability to be successful at the plate. No, I'm far from a whisperer around the batting cage, but love that time of the day for sure. Always love just interacting in a very casual manner with the players.
I was like, because we did Jed the interview last year. Was it last year when he retired, Cody? 2 years ago?
I think it was the year before.
So when he retired, we brought him on A's Cast Live, and I was like, man, I'd love to have you back with the organization, figure out a way, because Vince, as you said, being able to talk to players, also the switch hitting aspect. Not a lot of guys can talk switch hitting. Robbie Grossman always talked about how Jed helped him with the switch hitting. So I think getting him back at least in spring training, putting him in uniform and let him go around and talk to young guys. Jed's so bright, a Stanford guy. I think it'd be great to have him back in the organization. So game's over today. You're flying to Vegas tonight?
That is correct. Land there a little before 6 o'clock. Night game tomorrow. It'll be a 6:05 first pitch and 1:05 on Saturday. Mitch Spence and Ross Stripling will be the starters in Vegas. The A's have been going to this big league weekend since way back in 1994. So this is, I think, the 8th or 9th time the A's will be a participant in big league weekend. The Brewers are coming to town. It'll be fun to see how that goes. They're bringing DL Hall as their starting pitcher tomorrow, the kid they got from the Orioles for Corbin Burns, and they really love him at camp so far. So I'm anxious to see that. Pat Murphy will be there. Used to be on the same coaching staff with Marcotte with the Padres. So it'll be a lot of fun to see that. And I love the Aviator Ballpark. It does great justice to their level of play.
All righty. I want you to give me one guy that has really impressed you and one guy that he needs to turn it on.
Well, I don't know if this guy's going to make the team, but I like the mannerisms of Hoy Park. He can play infield. He can play outfield. He bats from the left side, which Marcotte has talked about as an advantage for a bench player. I think he would be the kind of player that would understand that role, meaning knowing he's not going to get a lot of at-bats, but he'll always be ready and not be all wrapped up in why am I not playing more, not that he doesn't want to. But I think he would understand what that role will be. So I'm enjoying watching Hoy Park put his best foot forward again. I don't know if he's going to make the club. Very crowded in the outfield, but I like what he's done. As far as the guy that has to get going, I would say it's going to be Tyler Soderstrom, and only because he's behind because of health. He missed several days because of the little virus he had, a little infection he had that he lost 7 pounds. He's going to Vegas as well, so he's starting today behind the plate, and he'll be playing as well in Vegas. So I want to see Tyler do things. We know he's a special talent. We know that he can really provide some thump from the left side. How the A's use him, how they determine the best hybrid of Tyler, because with Shea, he caught over 120 games last year. I would imagine he's going to have that kind of workload again this season. So you get Tyler at first base, you get Tyler behind the plate, and you get Tyler DH. Plus, the A's really felt like he made a lot of strides as a catcher when they saw him with the big league club last year. So it's not a negative saying I want to see more from Tyler Soderstrom. I just think he's behind because of health, and that's why I want to see him get going and get hot and be on this club on opening day.
What about Jordan Diaz?
I think Jordan is on the outside. I really do. I mean, and I say that for a 23-year-old that has a nice hit tool. He has struggled to find a spot defensively. I think he's behind Toro and Hernandez, at third base. Certainly second base is taken with Geloff. If you're going to play Miguel Andujar at first base part-time along with Ryan Noda, that's the spot where we saw Jordan last year. He seems to be further down the depth chart there as well. So I'm afraid that Jordan Diaz is a guy that is going to be in a situation where he's going to have to get hot at AAA and kind of remake himself as somebody the A's want to see more of in the big leagues. He's had moments, but I think Jordan Diaz is a guy that's behind those others at those positions.
All righty. Enjoy the game today. Have a great call, and we'll talk to you tomorrow in Sin City.
That'll be great. See you, Towny.
All righty. Vince Cotroneo getting you ready for A's baseball today. Coming your way at the top of the hour. Going to be taking on the Guardians and Stephen Vogt. We're going to have Paul Hembekides from ESPN joining us just here at 11:30 our time. It's 12:30 still in Arizona. When do we switch the time?
Sunday.
So
our first show Monday will be
spring forward.
Monday will be 11 to 1.
Oh, I can sleep in. I'm like, my wife's like, you're starting to go to bed later. I'm like, yeah. I've got to condition my body to be up late. When I'm taking phone calls from all the happy people late at night, I got to be I'm not asleep at midnight. I'm up taking calls. I'm driving down 880 late at night. I got to get the body. I got to get back into my Dracula hours.
Regular season mode.
Regular season mode is up all night, baby. Pounding coffee at 10, 11 o'clock. Let's go.
I think I've been going to bed earlier every night because
not anymore.
I've been getting up early to run on the treadmill before start working.
Not anymore. You're getting back into baseball season, man. Well, thank God for the pitch clock. Anybody that hates the pitch clock, I have no time for you. I just don't even. I have people complain to me about the pitch. I don't even.
Well, quickly, when we're talking about pitching, there was some pitching news that happened while we had
from the pitching ninja.
When we had the ninja and Vince on, Little Pedro, as they call him, Brian Bayo, agreed to a 6-year, $55 million contract extension with the Red Sox with a 7-year club option for 2021. This is according to Kylie McDaniel, our good friend of ESPN on X, Twitter, whatever we call it now.
So you're signing a guy you already got in your roster.
Correct.
Their problem is they're signing people who are not on the roster.
Yeah, so Bayo's 24 years old. He was 12-11 last year with a 4.24 ERA.
Pitched against the A's in Oakland last year.
Yeah, he's a nice pitcher. I wouldn't say he's good yet, but I mean they locked him up for 6 more years at least.
I don't know, man. If I'm looking at those are his top numbers, last year's numbers.
Yeah.
What stands out to you?
28 starts.
What else?
Not the innings pitched.
Yeah,
I guess innings pitched, yeah, 157.
I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Roger Clemens is not walking through that door. Neither is Greg Maddux, right? You guys we're all on this, pitching wins don't matter. And I had to explain to you, yeah, because pitchers don't pitch. So you can't get something that you don't qualify for. We are now so desperate. I'm telling you, you gave me 28 starts. I'm happy.
Yeah,
You're 24 years old and you gave me 28 starts because that's a question I asked everybody. Where are you going to get your starts? Where are you going to get your outs? Because you've now at least give me this. You've now realized unnamed nobody reliever coming in the 4th and 5th inning is not a good idea.
No, it's not.
Well, what happens when the guy comes in the 4th or 5th inning? Means the starter doesn't qualify for a win.
Correct.
So we have now because that was like the sabermetrics world. I don't care about wins. You now realize, oh my God, starters being pulled early is a disaster. It kills my really good arms in the bullpen. These innings, we're all sitting around going, how are we going to get all these outs? How are we going to get these innings? So there's a byproduct of starters don't go long, starters don't qualify for wins. So your days are going, what about the guy that pitches into the 7th inning and he only gave up 2 runs and lost? That's such an anomaly.
Yeah, anymore, yes.
That is if that's what you're banking on, that is such a small the DeGrom loss is such.
Well, he has to pitch to get a loss.
It is such a small percent. Have I brought you around to that?
Yeah, a little bit, yes.
I mean, because you started looking around, the average start's not even 5 innings.
No, well, I forget what
it's just over 5.
Yeah, I would say it was like 5.1 or something.
That's your average. I mean, you have so many guys that can't even give you 4.
I remember
It's death. It's death.
So right now, if you look at roster resource from Fangraphs, they have Bayo actually starting 31 games, projected to start 31 games and be the Red Sox best pitcher.
I'm telling you right now.
Now that Giolito's hurt.
I'm just telling you right now. You give me 30 starts, I don't even care what your numbers are.
That's fair. I mean,
if you can give me 30 starts, you would have to be so bad for me not to say he's valuable. We used 24 starters last year. 24 guys. What about the opener? It doesn't matter. Someone else. What's the definition of starter?
A guy that starts the game on the mound.
So it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter what your resume says. It doesn't matter what your baseball reference page says. You're the starter today. Austin Pruitt. Here's a great example of this bogus. We had the guy on from Kansas City. Well, because they use like 23 starters or something like that.
23, I believe.
And all those guys were openers. Well, what's your definition of an opener? Because that's been blurred. Because managers started realizing, well, this guy's thrown well for 2 innings. Let's throw him out for a 3rd. Well, all of a sudden, you've pitched a 1/3 of the game. Are you really an opener? An opener was supposed to be, I go get 3 outs.
Yeah, that's what Romo and
Stanek remember when Mark Kotze, I don't even remember. Well, he's only been manager 2 years. It would have been year 1. Austin Pruitt. Kotze did not want to go and get somebody from Vegas. I'll just put Austin Pruitt out there, be the opener. He went 5 innings. Remember that night?
Yes.
It was spectacular in Oakland. Austin Pruitt was spectacular. Well, that technically would be the opener guy. Well, is he really an opener for him at 5 innings? We can't even give you the definition of what the opener is now.
A really good example of that is a guy that was used as an opener and then became a starting pitcher is Zach Littell. Giants had him left. Rays pick him up. He started like 14 games or so for the Rays last year as a starting pitcher when he was a guy that was pitching deep in the games and opening and stuff like that. And he became a starting pitcher, and the Rays have him in there. I think he's slotted to be in the rotation this year.
If I have a human being who can stay healthy and give me 30 starts, he's valuable. that means he's going to give me innings. Starts equals innings. Those are the two most desperate things we need in pitching right now. So I don't care how I don't all the other numbers. I want them to be good. I don't want them to walk guys. I'd like them to strike out people. I don't want them to give up runs. But if you can give me innings and starts, that means that's less guys I got to go find.
And I keep scrolling on X Pro. It used to be TweetDeck. Just see if Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery sign, and still nothing.
What's the date today?
March 7th.
March 7th, and the two most popular kids in school are not in school.
The reigning Cy Young winner and the guy that was one of the best pitchers on the Rangers to lead them to a World Series. Neither one of them are signed.
The two most popular guys in school are not in school. That's not good. That is not. This has been a disastrous offseason. And that gets me to Bregman could sign for $300 million. There's no chance Bregman gets $300 million.
Plus he's over 30.
There's no chance.
Right? Isn't Bregman 30?
All you need to do is Josh Don. I was thinking about this.
29, sorry.
I haven't even been able to get into my pitchers, and we might have to save that for tomorrow.
Actually, he'll be 30 in a couple of days.
The pitcher injury thing we may have to save for tomorrow. So if anybody ever complains about money, just go look at Josh Donaldson, who we had our guy JD on yesterday. JD came up in 2010 for a handful of games, then vanishes, comes back in 2012, up and down, got hot at the end of the year, and then after that established himself as a big leaguer. He only played 13 years, but only X amount of those years were years where Josh Donaldson could make money outside of being someone who was making the minimum and then arbitration. And we had the number for you. If anybody says, so essentially Josh Donaldson played 13 years, right?
Yeah.
Played 13 years. Wasn't able to make big money until the age of 20. What do you count as big money? He wasn't able to really make big money till he was 30. Josh Donaldson made $172 million in his career. So if anybody tells you, baseball players are getting screwed, go check Josh Donaldson's baseball reference page. He really didn't make it he wasn't making the money until he was 30. Had 13-year career, wasn't until he was 30, came up at 26. Excuse me, 2010, he wasn't 20. 2012, his first real year, he was 26. Still managed to make $172 million. Generational wealth. Josh Donaldson's family, as he said yesterday, single parent home. His mom, his new wife, his kids, none of them will ever have to worry about money ever again, and the grandkids. And Josh Donaldson, in a small period of time, made $172 million. Stop telling me there's no money. But Bregman is he a free agent after this year?
Yeah.
Bregman is the next Chapman.
Yeah, Bregman.
Now, I think Bregman's a far better player than Chapman and has 2 World Series rings and has a lot of stuff Chapman doesn't have. Well, consistency with the bat. But if Alex Bregman thinks he's holding out for that kind of money, good luck. Coming up next, this could get ugly between Cody and Hembo. Hembo literally is one of the smartest men in sports. Are you going to be ready for this? Because I think Hembo knocks you out in the first round.
He may, but I have an opinion. And
the great Hembo next, right here on A's Cast Live.
This is Chris Townsend. There are 2 things that are a must for me: comfort and style. Whether I'm playing golf, going to dinner, I've got to have the right feel. That's why I've partnered with Linksole, and you're going to love Linksole. They have just released their new spring line, new fabrics for their polos, lightweight and perfect for technical performance. Linksole also has new styles for their layers and hoodies with cool prints and seasonal colors. You know what they say in the big leagues: look good, play good. Go to linksole.com. That's linksole.com. This is Chris Townsend, and if you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see my friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Zach Geloff was on A's Cast Live and detailed what he's been working on this offseason.
I think the offseason is crucial because taking care of your body is, I think, the most important. So in the weight room, eating well, sleeping well is something that I took priority over, along with the baseball side now, getting closer to spring training. So make sure I'm doing running and a lot of baseball stuff, doing machine work and all that stuff. So I think just ultimately just taking care of my body, try to get bigger, faster, stronger. And, the ultimate goal is just to stay on the field.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Ever since we got Xfinity, we have Wi-Fi all over the house, even in my hiding spots.
Ha! Found ya.
How?
That's wall-to-wall Wi-Fi from Xfinity. Now through March 21st, get started with 200 megabit internet for $25 a month for 2 years with no annual contract and get Wi-Fi equipment included. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Requires paperless bill and auto-pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and Wi-Fi equipment. Actual speeds vary.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, join your team this spring in Mesa. With nonstop flights direct from Oakland, there's never been a better time to head to the Southwest. Surrounded by the stunning Sonoran Desert, spring training fans know why Arizona is the perfect spring break escape. Miles of trails, shoreline, and sunshine combined for an unforgettable Arizona adventure. There's simply no shortage of things to do, see, and discover in Mesa. Get your visitor's guide at visitmesa.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's Cast Live continues from the studio. Here's Chris Townsend.
I mean, I'm not even sure if this is the right book to even promote anymore. I mean, he's so big time. Hembo, are we still promoting this, or do I not have the new book that you've put out?
So, first of all, it is a delight to be here as always, and I always appreciate the hundreds of books that you enable me to sell every time I come on your fabulous show. The book you are currently holding up is dated, insofar as it is book number 1. Book number 2 comes out this fall, but I've yet to get my hands on a copy of that one. All we've done is promote it sometime in September. That will hit the shelves. It's called Got Your Answers. It's sort of a spin-off of the book that you're holding in your hand right now.
I can still buy this book, and you can still make money off of it.
Of course, I can, and of course you can. So I always appreciate you amplifying my work. Got Your Answers, which comes out in September, is sort of like a sports debate book in the typical sense of the term. The book you just held up, Got Your Number, is more of like a sports history book. We use the debate as sort of the entry point. Got Your Answers is basically just 100 sports lists. Some things like who are the 10 starting pitchers you want on the mound with your season on the line, to what are Greeny's favorite concessions at a minor league baseball game, and sort of everything in between. So baseball is well represented in that book, and I always appreciate you giving me the chance to plug them.
Baseball game with your life on the line. You need to have a guy that's starting. Who is it? Who is that guy? Your life is on the line. Who is it?
Okay. So this was, as you might imagine, the subject of enormous debate, because in the annals of baseball history, there are so many pitchers that you could choose from. But obviously, in this case, when you're only choosing one, what I went to was who were the highest performing pitchers in the highest leverage moments that existed. And this is where I wound up. I wound up in a place where number 3 for me is Christy Mathewson, number 2 is Bob Gibson, and number 1, spoiler alert, is Sandy Koufax. When you consider,
I was gonna go. I'm like, Bob Gibson's like the meanest human being ever. I gotta have Gibson, but if I'm just going, this is my life. There's a gun on my head. If I lose, they pull the trigger. It's over. The one guy that could just blow everybody away time and time again in his prime was Sandy. I was thinking Gibson's Koufax.
Okay, I'm glad that we were in the same place. I mean, Sandy Koufax at his best, which is, of course, the way that we're doing this. Like,
unhittable.
Sandy Koufax at his zenith, in my opinion, is the second greatest pitcher that ever lived, behind only Pedro Martinez in 99 and 2000. But Pedro Martinez was very ordinary in the playoffs, whereas Sandy Koufax, I think, recorded – I mean, he had 2 World Series shutouts and regularly on short rest. Sandy Koufax just dominated in the World Series, despite not having much run support at all. But his combination of unhittability and postseason track record means I think he's getting that ball, because if he's getting that ball, there's a good chance I never have to go out to the mound to give it to somebody else.
And day 2, if the gun's still at my head, Bob Gibson's warming up, and that's the meanest SOB. Bob Gibson is just an angry, or he was an angry guy. And you know what?
Goodness.
And they talked about competition and he shined in the biggest moments.
Bob Gibson had an absolutely venomous approach to pitching. Not only was his stuff just completely ridiculous, but Bob Gibson is probably the most ruthless, relentless competitor the game of baseball has ever known. I mean, if you learn of his backstory a little bit, having overcome so much growing up, you're not surprised that he was so tough. Bob Gibson was also a ridiculous athlete. He once held the Creighton men's basketball scoring record that Paul Silas wound up breaking. Anyway, a ridiculous athlete.
That
is ridiculous
great knowledge right there.
Yeah. Look,
what did he average a game?
He owned the career total.
Okay.
I don't remember off the top of my head what the total was, but Bob Gibson was given 2 contracts coming out of college. He could have been a Harlem Globetrotter or a St. Louis Cardinal. For a time, he actually was Meadowlark Lemon's roommate as he was considering that, but he wound up signing with the Cardinals. And what am I talking about? Like, we haven't even started talking about baseball this century. My God.
Just a bunch of old white guys talking about the Harlem Globetrotters when we were kids. All right, I'm going to tell you this. My phone blows up. I can't believe Himbo. This is so wrong. That Philadelphia Philly fanatic hack. That's all I'm hearing. What a homer for the Phillies. Take your John Kruk, your cigarettes, and your Mitch Williams and your Dutch Dalton and shove it. Zach Wheeler is the best pitcher in the game. Cody, get on it. Cody's like, you can't tell me he's better than Garrett Cole. How dare you say Zach Wheeler is the best pitcher in baseball?
I don't know if I went that far, but I did say I was irked by the tweet.
Oh, you said Lenny Dykstra, that steroid
Well,
using.
of course, I'm going to go with my hometown Pittsburgh Pirates.
The minute he
Garrett
went,
Cole.
The minute he went after my guy Larry Boa, I start sticking up for you.
Okay, so Cody, defend your honor. Tell me why my Zach Wheeler take is an irresponsible take.
The floor is yours, Cody.
I saw all the stuff about WAR, and I get it. But if you look at all their other counting sets, they're very similar over the last 3 years. Game started, innings pitched, wins. Garrett Cole blows them away and wins, which I know we don't care about wins. ERA plus,
I do.
ERA plus is similar. ERA is similar. Strikeouts, K percentage, all that stuff is similar. And I know we don't want to talk because it's voted on by the writers, but Garrett Cole's won a Cy Young, finally, after many years of not winning one. Now, I know Wheeler's been much better in the playoffs recently, but Cole's also had a longer track record in the postseason. He's been pretty solid, too.
Okay, so, look, I mean, I can't sit here and pretend like the opinion that Garrett Cole is the best pitcher in baseball is somehow, like, outside the Overton window. My guess is that Garrett Cole is, if you ask the average baseball fan, considered the best pitcher in baseball right now, and that's because Garrett Cole was the best pitcher in baseball last season. But as you and I both do this exercise every offseason where we do our positional rankings and we value, like recent track record of pitchers and what we might expect moving forward, the truth of the matter is Garrett Cole has not been nearly as consistent as Zach Wheeler in recent memory. Zach Wheeler is, not a Cy Young winner, but he was robbed 2 years ago. He most definitely should have won the award over Corbin Burns when he, I think by any reasonable standard of measure, outperformed in that season. And the reason, Cody, that I used WAR in that tweet, for those that didn't see it, 3 years, 2021, 22, and 23. Zach Wheeler ranks first in Baseball Reference pitching WAR, first in Fangraphs pitching WAR, and first in Baseball Prospectus pitching WARP. And in each of those cases, a different pitcher ranks number 2. The reason I like aggregating those things is because all 3 of those things value different things. And by all 3 standards of measure, not only is Zach Wheeler the best pitcher in baseball over the last 3 seasons in terms of total value, but you also must consider, Cody, that Zach Wheeler owns the lowest WHIP, plus hits per inning pitch, in the history of the postseason. Zach Wheeler is a considerably better postseason pitcher than Garrett Cole is, who is just 2 years away from 2 years removed, from having a 1.12 ERA plus in the regular season and getting shellacked in the playoffs to such an extent that Yankees fans were trying to run him out of town. All I'm saying is, if you think that Cole is greater than Wheeler is an obvious thing, I think what you are doing is falling into some recency bias. It's a perfectly reasonable opinion, but I think the data say that at minimum, Zach Wheeler has a strong case to be made. Fair or unfair?
Today, your house is on the line. If you lose your house, your kids, your beautiful twins are sleeping in the car. You got to win this game today. Today. Well, I know it's spring training, but you got to win it today. Who are you taking, Wheeler or Cole?
I would take Zach Wheeler. Garrett Cole is a little bit too homer prone for my liking. And if I must say so, Garrett Cole is a tad emotional for my liking. You and I have seen it. You and I have seen the bad body language. Imagine if Garrett Cole's manager had removed him from Game 6 of the World Series for Jose Alvarado to then allow a home run to Yordan Alvarez. He'd still be talking about it today. But Garrett Cole has never allowed a home run for which he would allow someone to trot slowly around the bases. He has never seen an error happen behind him for which he's not really happy to sort of show up his teammates with his body language. He's a tad bit Yankee. And Zach Wheeler is slow and steady and even-keeled and super underrated because he doesn't have as good a publicist as Garrett Cole, certainly. But he's a more consistent pitcher than Garrett Cole. His highs are just as high, and his lows are not nearly as low as Garrett Cole.
All right. I'm sticking up for my guy, Vaughn Hayes. I'm sticking up for Juan Samuel. I'm sticking up for all my fighting Phils. Greatest third baseman of all time, Mike Schmidt. Damn it, we're sticking up for the Phillies. All righty.
Before we move on, I have to give you the legendary Mike Schmidt quote that I was reminded of this week when he said, "Philly is the only city in which you can enjoy the thrill of victory one day and experience the agony of reading about it the next." That, my friends, is Philadelphia.
I will say
that is great.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's was nowhere near as bad. I mean, it was bad, but not like that. And I think a lot of me is biased because I'm so upset that Garrett Cole didn't start the 2014 wildcard game over Francisco Liriano. But I will say this: Andrew McCutchen is a greater Pirate than a Philly, so I'll vacate myself now.
That is true.
Okay, so what are you hot on? 2024. We just realized after this weekend, the A's for us, it's 2 weeks away. By the way, we're going to be better than people think. Being down spring training, we got some athletes. The kids are coming. We're going to be far better. But it's like 2 weeks, but there's like 3 off days. So baseball, we're going to blink here. What are you hot on going into 2024?
So I think the place we should start, because I haven't done like my full preview exercise, is I want to talk a little bit about Scott Boras, whose reputation in the game may be greater than his output at this point. Scott Boras has been a Hall of Fame agent for many, many years.
No doubt.
But in my opinion, the mismanagement of some of these high-level clients, some of whom are still sitting out there whistling in the wind, is pretty inexcusable. And if it were almost anyone else representing them, they would not be given the benefit of the doubt. Cody Bellinger went way too hot and heavy in the market. Seeking a $200 million contract was a wholly irresponsible standpoint, coming off of a guy who had a 66 OPS plus across the 2021 and 22 seasons. All right, he was horrible. He was non-tendered, and teams are too smart now to pay for 1 year of Cody Bellinger. To settle at 3 for $80 is a net loss for Scott Boras, and it can't be painted as anything else. Now we have Matt Chapman signing a 3 for $54 with the Giants. After Matt Chapman turned down considerably more money, regardless of what Scott Boras tells you, he turned down considerably more money, over $100 million, to stay with the Blue Jays. We saw Michael Conforto do the same thing. And the A's, of course. we forget the age.
We offered him 150.
So Matt Chapman is bathing, okay, in Scott Boras' fecal matter. Okay, so he took a big hit with mismanagement. And now we have Jordan Montgomery, who is a postseason hero, who over the last 2 years has been a ridiculously underrated pitcher, unavailable to find work, and Blake Snell, who just won the National League Cy Young Award. It's freaking March the 7th. You can't possibly convince me that this is some sort of grand master plan to wait for injuries. I mean, that's not a strategy. That's a thing that you say when you've already lost. And so I think there's a non-zero chance that Jordan Montgomery gets a decent deal, maybe from Boston after the Lucas Giolito injury. Maybe not. I think there's a non-zero chance that Blake Snell winds up signing a 9-figure contract with the Angels because they're run badly. Maybe not. I don't know. What I do know is that Scott Boras has gotten his clock cleaned across these negotiations, and if it were anyone other than Scott Boras, they'd be getting a lot more heat from it. But agents so like the scoops that he gives them that we're not going to get much negative press about him. So that might be a non-standard opinion, but it's mine.
No, I like it. By the way, looking at your outfit today, I just want to know later on today, are you auditioning for Jersey Boys?
Okay, so I have to apologize. All right, because of the timing of my daughter's nap, she's home today with stuff coming all out of her body in all sorts of places. So I'm watching her. The first half hour of her nap, I did a workout downstairs. The second half hour of her nap, I will return downstairs to do my workout. And this is the best I could do. So this is what I'm working out in. What you see is what you get. You don't want to hear me sing, and you probably don't want to see me work out either.
I didn't know if you're going to be Frankie Valli. I didn't know what you're. I mean, Jersey Boys. I've seen it before. It was really good.
I'm playing the part. I'm growing the hair vertically without any movement whatsoever. Like it just sticks up. And for some reason, I got my mom's complexion. She's from Toledo, and I got my dad's hair. He's from Beirut, which is the worst combo you could have ever gotten. But here we are talking about Zach Geloff and other frivolous matters.
All right, baseball, what are you hot on? But I'm with you on Boras. This has been a bad look, and I think it's really after this year, 2 years left on the CBA, this is kind of showing you where we're going, right? This is kind of, and I said earlier, like if Bregman thinks he's getting $300 million, he's out of his mind.
Bregman is out of his mind if he thinks he's getting anything close to that. We've seen that teams are not paying those corner guys the way that they used to. The first base market is a perfect example of that. Pete Alonso is begging the Mets to keep him, and they don't want to. The Red Sox did give Rafi Devers $300 million contract. The Braves did give Austin Riley a huge deal. But look, who are we kidding? I mean, Alex Bregman doesn't have the kind of long-term power profile that those guys do. He's no longer a plus defender at third base, and you can't really play him anywhere else. So I'm not exactly sure what Alex Bregman thinks he's going to get. I did hear him do a podcast with Buster a week or two ago in which he said, gaining bat speed has been his number one priority this offseason. He wants to tap into his pull side power, and that's his ticket to ride. I mean, if Alex Bregman is going to become someone who's going to get a monster contract, it's going to be because he demonstrates this year that not only can he control the strike zone like he's done in the past, of course, but by improving his power considerably. That's the premium skill in baseball. If I'm him, I'm willing to sacrifice some on base. I'm willing to sacrifice some strikeouts at the behest of chasing 40 home runs, especially in my contract year.
All right, something we're going to get into tomorrow because it works differently for different people and different teams. Who, as a team, and who, as an individual, this could be player, front office, manager, who has the most pressure going into this season? Give me one team and then give me one individual.
Okay, so this is going to be a cop-out answer. And you're going to hate this answer because I'm an ESPN employee. All the qualifiers.
LeBron James? Tom Brady?
No
Tom Brady? Tiger Woods?
Jerry Jones. No, in all seriousness, I think that Brian Cashman, for the first time in his career, is
it's over, Zach Prescott.
We have done Get Up topics in which we've shown quote panels of things that CeeDee Lamb's mom and Micah Parsons' brother have put on their Facebook page. And so talking ball with you is baseball with you is obviously a delightful left turn. All that being said, I actually do think that the Yankees and Brian Cashman are under just incomparable pressure for the first time during his tenure. So Brian Cashman has been their general manager since I've been like 8 years old. All right. I don't know a Yankee team not run by Brian Cashman for all intents and purposes. And he has mismanaged the team badly in recent years. Of that, there is no question. The dollars that they have devoted to certain people, which means the dollars they have not devoted to others, has been crippling. The Giancarlo Stanton trade is going to wind up being his undoing, potentially. The Carlos Rodon signing, potentially his undoing. Not just because they've been bad signings on balance, but because when you sign those guys, you can't sign Freddie Freeman or Corey Seager or Masa Yoshida or Bryce Harper or other players that are obviously good fits in Yankee Stadium and great players. The Yankees have paid too many good players and not nearly enough great ones, which is super bizarre for the way that they do things. But they've had a crumbling infrastructure in which their player development program has basically totally failed, especially when it comes to developing pitching. And so the Yankees have had to scramble. And unlike the Dodgers, who do have that player development behemoth, the Yankees have basically employed a strategy of dart throwing in recent years. And they've done the same thing this offseason by signing Marcus Stroman because he couldn't find another team and trading a bunch of stuff for 1 year of Juan Soto. Brian Cashman has admitted as much. This is a 1 year deal, a rental for Juan Soto, whom I believe is an absolutely terrific Hall of Fame talent. But the Yankees are admitting that this is a rental, which is super weird considering they should theoretically be able to sign him to a $500 million contract, but they've not. Now, the reason that's the case, of course, is because Hal Steinbrenner is very unlikely to give Brian Cashman the green light to do something like that, because I don't want to invest 8 or 10 years into a player if I'm going to have to start my program with a new general manager. And so there's no question that the Yankees, coming off of an 82-win season with all they've done this offseason, are a team objectively, as an ESPN employee or otherwise, that is under enormous pressure. Of that, there's no question.
I agree. Because a lot of people go Dodgers. I go, Andrew Friedman has no pressure. There's no pressure in LA. Dave Roberts maybe, but the rest of the team. All right, give me the one. You can go. I go one person. I mean, now you've gone Cashman with team. Give me the one can be a player, front office, manager. Who's the one person that has the most pressure?
The person in baseball under the most pressure. This is going to be a weird answer, but I think you'll like it. And I think the answer is Mike Trout. And I'm going to tell you why.
Ooh.
I think Mike Trout is under enormous public pressure for the first time in his career. All right, this might feel
a rally monkey out there for you for that one.
I'll tell you what, that rally monkey could, by the way, play shortstop for that team. Mike Trout has, over the last few years, been unable to stay on the field. And the brilliance of Shohei Ohtani in Los Angeles has covered up all of the transgressions of the franchise, because they've gotten so much positive pub across the baseball world. Ohtani's a unicorn. We'll show the highlights on SportsCenter. We'll do all the fun Ohtani free agency preview stuff. And the Angels have been a celebrity team because of him. Shohei Ohtani is gone. And the Angels have very little infrastructurally to stand on. They don't have a system to show for. And they have an aging superstar in Mike Trout who has not remained healthy. I think for the first time ever, people are going to look through sober eyes and say to themselves, you know what? It's one thing to not force a trade, but it's another to have zero self-awareness when it comes to your place in the baseball universe. Mike Trout had the opportunity to become Willie Mays, to become King Griffey Jr., to become Mickey Mantle, to become Joe DiMaggio, to become like the inner circle beloved Hall of Famer. And instead, he elected to sign a $400 million contract with the team that drafted him and wilt in anonymity, despite the fact that while keeping up his end of the bargain, it was exceedingly clear to me and you and everyone in between me and you from coast to coast that the Angels didn't deserve Mike Trout. Mike Trout did not owe them anything. They're the worst managed team, the worst run team in the sport, because their owner, with all due respect, has no earthly idea what he's doing. So if I'm sitting in Mike Trout's shoes this spring, even though he'll never say as much, Mike Trout, I think, is actually under pressure to become relevant, because he's at the risk of having the most obscure, nothing burger career of any immortal in any sport. Some people have compared him to Dan Marino. Dan Marino started like a dozen playoff games. Mike Trout has never played in a postseason game in which his team has won. Mike Trout, if you're operating from my perspective, is one of the 24 or so greatest talents in the history of this great game, and has had a career of zero consequence. Zero. And so if we're going to continue to live in that world, it's not a world in which I'm going to be happy to continue to say good things about Mike Trout, where I think if I'm a player of his gravity, I have to have the discernment, the disagreeableness, and the self-awareness to make sure that I don't end my career the way that Albert Pujols did.
Okay, we only have so much time left. Are we able to ask you, I know you haven't done it yet, just give us where you're leaning. If I'm the A's are actually going to Vegas this weekend. If I'm going to put a little scratch on who's winning this whole thing, where are you leaning?
Okay, so you're not going to get any value with the Dodgers for obvious reason. and you're not going to get much value with the Astros. Those are the favorites in their respective leagues, of course. The Phillies at 8 or 9 to 1, depending on what book you're at, is a good bet because the Phillies have a clear track record of knowing how to win in the playoffs. On the other hand, you might say to yourself, this team hasn't been nearly as good as the Dodgers or the Braves in the last 2 years, and advancing in baseball is fluky. And so the Phillies are likely to regress from that standpoint. But you could do a lot worse than the Phillies at 8 or 9 to 1. I think the Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles are both excellent baseball teams. I really do. I mean, the Texas Rangers lineup is going to be ridiculous. Okay, Wyatt Langford, Evan Carter for a full season. If you told me those two guys are going to have 1,000 plate appearances, that lineup's going to score 900 runs. You're going to get Scherzer and DeGrom back at some point mid-season. So they might not win the division, but they didn't win the division last year and they won the whole thing. And I think this team is going to be better than that one. Baltimore, meanwhile, won 100 games last year without really having an ace at the top of their rotation. They have that now. And that was before so many of these young studs had graduated to the big leagues. Not to mention Jackson Holliday, who is going to be an absolute monster. Jackson Holliday is someone on whom I have a man crush. He is going to be so good. I don't know if it's going to be right away, but that team has like the best collection of young position players that I've seen since the Cubs like 10 years ago. I mean, they're going to win one. I don't know if it's going to happen this year or not, but you could do a lot worse than Phillies, Rangers, Phillies, O's, some combination like that of those three teams. Which are you hottest on, the Rangers, the Phillies, or the Orioles?
And Montgomery could be taking some type of cheap deal with the Rangers coming back. We'll just have to
do something else.
Because as I said earlier, the two coolest kids this offseason in school, Snell and Montgomery, are not in school. And it's March 7th, and they're getting by the way, the book, you can still buy it everywhere. Take care of my guy, Hembo. Hembo, good luck in your audition for Goodfellas, the musical. I think you're going to do great. It's going to be fabulous. And we got to have you on again soon because you are the best.
I'm looking forward to it already. I like talking ball with you guys.
Next time, we got to break down my guy, Greg the Bull Lazinski. You want to talk about great Phillies? The Bull. Look it up, kids. The Bull was the man.
And the last thing I'll say is this. Come for the World Series predictions. Stay for Bob Gibson's college basketball career. Only this place. This is the only place you can go to get that.
It's called magic, my friend. You be well. The great Paul Hembekides from ESPN. I'm actually going to get us out on time. I am going to be a good employee and get us out on time for Vince and Johnny.
A's Guardians. I forgot to ask Hembo. What's ESPN think about Russell Wilson as a Steeler?
We're going to Ed Werner for reports from Dallas Cowboys camp.
Oh man, camp. Look, CeeDee Lamb's house. Dak Prescott's.
Did you like that? I'm like, wait, you're talking about LeBron? You're talking about Tom Brady? Yeah. Tiger Woods? Oh my God. ESPN. You like that little? Do you know what Jersey Boys is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I was a little offended that you didn't call Hembo after saying Burns was an ace.
When did he say that?
He said, well, they didn't have an ace at the top of their staff. Now they do.
I don't even know where to go with you guys anymore. You guys, I mean, Paul Blackburn's called an ace now.
We still haven't got over that article yet.
I mean, seriously, Paul Blackburn's an ace. Love Paulie Winday, but I mean, seriously. So tomorrow, pitchers' injuries, not buying it. Everybody's an ace.
And the one guy, one person, and one team.
He went where I agree. I think Brian Cashman. Remember, Billy Beane got hired towards the end of 97, and then right after that, at the start of 98, Cashman got hired. Cashman's been in charge of the Yankees since 1998. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that pressure. Who's got pressure? And the A's will be in Vegas. We're on at what time?
4.
We're on at 4. Coming up next, it's the Guardians and the Athletics. We'll see everybody tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Enjoy the ball game.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.